as the new the RFP process that we started. So let's start with the current contract. So as you probably know, the current contract was slated to end on June 30th, with the new one starting July 1st. Obviously, that's been delayed given the current circumstances. The RFP process that we started. So let's start with the current contract. So as you probably know, the current contract was slated to end on June 30th, with the new one starting July 1st. Obviously, that's been delayed given the circumstances.
This is a strange echo.
That's really strange. Is that much? Is there that much of a delay at your end?
It's causing that, Dana, I'm sorry. Here, I will pause that. I'm trying to also broadcast this over YouTube, and last time I did it on a different computer, so I will just pause that for now, and we will post after. So that's fine. We can do that.
Yeah, thank you. That's very distracting. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so the new program year, fiscal year, would have started July 1 under normal circumstances. And so we prior to all the COVID stuff happening, we started that process with the RFP. We sent it out to the bidders. They submitted, and it's essentially as far as we've gotten. So what we essentially need to do is we need to extend the current contract. The executive committee met about this earlier this week. So really what we need to do is extend the current contract. I can let Tara share more information about this, but the guidance that we've gotten from the state is we are able to do that for up to 1 year. So extend the current contract for up to 1 year. After conversations with ad staff and with the executive committee, I think we're more inclined to do that for 6 months versus the year. We always have the option, if we're still in the situation we're in today, you know, several months from now, we have the option to extend that further, but we felt that a year was a long time to extend it. So that's one of the things I want to talk about with this group, and that's one of the actions that we'll need or one of the items that we'll need action on today. So Tara, what did I leave out, or what additional background do you want to provide?
Really, Dana, I mean, that's the crux of it. We're going to be asking for 2 points of action. One would be extending the current contract for the 6 months. We do know that we will need to work with the current provider to do a budget modification that is in line with the amount of funding we know we have available for that time period. And then secondly, the second action would be to delay the RFP process to a new timeline that we do have available that would restart the RFP application process in August using the current documentation, just asking for revised budget submissions, review in September, Program and Youth Committee review in October, full web approval in November, and going on to the new contract implementation in January.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I was going to kind of take those separately, but that's
Okay.
fine. Thank you. No, that's okay. Thank you for that. That it might be helpful for people to know, because they're related, but it's 2 separate motions that need to happen. So
sorry. Yep.
That's okay. Let's go back to, so the current contract, essentially, what the executive committee is proposing is that we just extend the current contract for both the one-stop operator and the direct service provider for 6 months. 6 months from starting July 1. So again, the current contract will end June 30th, and we're just looking to extend that basically until the end of the year this year. So let's have some discussion or questions about that. I do need a motion and a second and a vote, though. as part of the action today. Any questions or discussion around that?
Dana,
Dana, this is Rhonda, and I just have one question. I assume there's been some discussion, obviously, with the operator as far as the capacity to do that extension.
Yes. Yeah, we have talked with them and they are willing to talk through renegotiation of the next 6 months and continuing to work forward on that. That has not been finalized, Rhonda, because we're waiting for the go ahead from the WIB, but they are willing to talk that through with us. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Somebody else had the same question, Rhonda, so thank you. Other questions or points of discussion on that item?
So this basically, excuse me, so this basically leaves the exact contract, everything that we've been doing for the last so many years in place for 6 more months.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing is the communication with those who did have proposals for consideration, just what the update to them is going to be about, and how we're going to ensure that they are clear on the process and how it's going to continue with the same integrity it has up to this point.
Absolutely, and Tara can add to this, but we did send a communication to the submitters for the new contract, letting them know we were making some adjustments. We haven't, I don't know that because we just finalized the schedule, but we did let them know what we were doing, and there was a delay and why there was a delay and that type of thing. And what we said to them is, I think Tara mentioned this, we're not asking them to resubmit their RFPs other than an updated budget. That's the only thing we're asking them to do.
I agree with Fernando. I also think this is a horrible time to be switching providers, quite frankly.
Agree. Because at the end of the day, it's all about continuity of service, right? And that's what we're really trying to assure, for sure.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay.
second.
I think, thank you, Brent, and I think David seconded it.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's take a vote. All in favor of extending the current contract for 6 more months, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The little girl, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, the motion carries. Thank you all so much for that. And then the other item that Tara mentioned, I don't know, Tara, if you want to go over these slides first, or do you want to go over the timeline, the updated timeline, and then we'll do the slides?
I mean, these are really just things that, just so in case anyone was wondering, can you guys see the changing slides? As
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So I did just want to let everyone know there has been a lot of response by the Kentucky Career Center and the WIB staff over the last month responding to COVID-19. I know this is a little bit small, and I'm going to email this out to everybody, but just in case you were wondering, there's been a lot of new services, not really new services, but new methodology of providing services to clients in terms of going to 100% virtual as of March 18th. We are assisting nearly 2,000 Northern Kentuckians weekly by phone or email, with the vast majority of them seeking unemployment insurance support. And we've had even our WIOA staff have been transitioning to be able to take on unemployment insurance calls of various kinds. There's new web pages, there's a new email address. We're working with the Kenton County Public Library to offer virtual workshops. We just had a Facebook Live event yesterday with Tyson, and we'll be going to other similar Facebook Live or other digital events as well. So I just thought it would be helpful for everyone to see that the work is transitioning quickly with the new web addresses.
Tara?
Yes, ma'am.
Tara? I'm sorry, this is Rhonda.
Yes, ma'am.
That slide is great. Is this something, are you able to send this slide deck, or at least just that one, out to us following this meeting?
Absolutely, Rhonda. I have it actually formatted in a Word document to email out after this. So
Great.
that it'll be
Thank you.
easy for you to share. Absolutely. absolutely. But I'm happy to share the slides, as well for whatever purpose you all would like. I'll do both. As far as the website, we know that many of our customers are really more accustomed to coming in person or to using the phone. And so it's a transition for them to be really using the website, but you can see there's a lot of things going on with this, but if you look at the purple spike, that's our new unemployment insurance resource page. So that page didn't even exist a few weeks ago. So we know that people are seeking those services. And even though there are a lot of calls, people are having to wait, but they are getting through. I actually had a friend who needed to call in yesterday, and though he had to call a couple times, he finally had a staff person call him back after hours to make sure that his question was answered. So there's just been a lot of effort to make sure that every client, no matter kind of what their capacity is being taken care of. Dana, to your point about sort of the guidance from the cabinet, if I did just want to make sure that everyone had the opportunity to see that we do have this letter from Deputy Secretary Benton talking about the ability to extend our current contracts if it's determined by the WIB that is the appropriate course of action. And we also have support from our chief local elected official, who is, just as a reminder, now Judge Pendry. That transition happened just a couple months ago, supporting the need for continuity of service for the clients that we serve. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had that same information that we did. And now we've gotten to the timeline that we were working towards in terms of that recommended timeline revision.
Yeah, so Tara, just a second. I was looking at the chat. So Dave Fleischer had a question about, before we move on to this, what the extended contract.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know the answer to this, Dave, so I might have to get back to this group, but his question was, would the contract starting in January be only for 6 months and then the new contract
Yes.
starts July? So it's July 1?
Yes, we would have, and I apologize, I can actually not see the chat because of sharing my screen. So if we see other chats, please somebody, even on the team, speak up. But so in order to get back to be having this contract based on the fiscal year, when we have our budgets based on the fiscal year, we would need to have a 6-month contract from January rather to the end of June as well. Yes.
And I'm gonna just respond. I think you probably heard that, Dave, but I'm just gonna respond in the chat.
I did, no problem. I didn't mean to interrupt the rhythm of the
No,
presentation.
that's okay.
Sorry.
I wanted to, before we moved on to the next topic, I wanted to make sure we closed to the first one, so thank you. All right, so the timeline. Tara went through this, but this is what we're thinking in terms of a proposed timeline. So some of this is already complete, which is the compliance review of the proposals that happened the end of February, the beginning of March. And prior to that, I think the deadline was the 25th or 26th of February for them to submit the responses to the RFP. So those 2 items are done. And then April 14th, so we had some meetings scheduled, as you can see on the timeline. So I don't know, Tara, do you want to go through this in a little more greater detail? I know you just went through it really quickly, but
yeah, that's fine. So basically, this does reflect the new timeline. We just wanted to reiterate as staff that the April 14th Program and Youth Committee will continue to meet and discuss the annual budget because we will be keeping on our fiscal year of July 1 to June 30. And so this is just a reminder that meeting, even though if the WIB at this meeting determines that we will be extending the contract and delaying our RFP, the Program and Youth Committee folks will still need to meet on April 14th to discuss and make recommendations to the full board about the budget itself. And then there will be a May 12th meeting of this full group again to approve that fiscal year 21 budget recommendation. Just as a reminder, July 1st is the beginning of fiscal year 21. And then we recommend that we would work with the applicants, there are 3, to, in advance, of course, to have a deadline of August 30th for submission of their revised budgets. I also recommend that they have an opportunity to add maybe a summary, couple pages if they wanted, about any additional things that they would like to add, based on the time that has passed. Nothing super long, but something that they would be able to provide. And we can work on the details of that. But the most important part would be the budget submission on August 30th. And then we had planned a training in March, so we would have that Zoom-based training about how to score proposals on September 10th, with the proposals and the results of the staff compliance review being provided to the Program and Youth Committee by September 22nd. We would ask all of the PY committee members to read and score prior to that September 22nd meeting. And then they would, of course, be able to change their score over the course of the meeting. Then so they would have those documents on the 22nd, and then they would meet on October 13th. Just as an FYI, October 22nd would be the date of the executive committee. And then November 10th, the full WIB would gather and approve a contract and, funding recommendation at that time. We would also, of course, gather the chief local elected official for approval of the contract as well, with the contract being implemented January 4th.
So Tara, the October, and for the rest of the team, it's the October, keep me honest, the October 13th meeting is where the bidders will be invited to attend and answer questions, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So that's we would have normally done that on the April 14th meeting.
Yes.
But it's now happening on October 13th.
Per approval of the board, yes.
Okay, so are there questions about the timeline or suggestions? Here's a chat question. Do we have an understanding if the operator, Brighton Center, needs any additional support? Might be covering this later.
We have spoken with them for this fiscal year and anticipate, actually, I think we received this morning a budget modification to reflect some of the changed equipment that they anticipate needing to be able to provide more virtual services. So that would actually be within this fiscal year. And we also have received documents from the Department of Labor that would allow us to potentially apply for additional funds. And of course, we'll be pursuing those opportunities as well. Does that answer the question?
She said yes. She said thanks.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you for that, Tara. Are there questions or comments about the proposed revised timeline? Does it make sense?
I'll make a motion that we approve the amended timeline as recommended.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Shannon.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving the recommended timeline, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone. I think for the most part, those are the items that we wanted to cover. Tara, am I missing anything?
No, ma'am. We had just this one agenda item for today, and then we will return to our normal meeting schedule for committees for the remainder of April, and the full board will meet again on May 12th. At which time we will have minutes from both this meeting and from your January meeting, or no, whenever it was, sorry, March meeting.
Okay, all right. Again, thanks everyone so much for taking time and being here today. And I'm thankful that we have the option to use technology so we can conduct the business that we need to conduct to make sure, most importantly, that our customers get the service that they need. So thanks again. Any last minute things for the good of the group?
Dana, this is Tara again. I would just say that we do have a lot of resources on the Career Center website. And when I send out those notes, if anyone has any questions or ideas about ways that we could even further serve our community in this time, absolutely let us know that. We've had meetings with Triad and definitely working really closely with the Chamber and the Grow team in terms of how we can all work together. So if there's any other ideas about that, we are very open to those ideas. And we really thank Triad and the Chamber and everyone who's already reached out.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. I mean, you and I can talk offline, but I did have a couple suggestions on things like for the independent contractors, people that have never been out of work before and don't have any clue on what to do. Even on the website itself right now, there's no real choice for coronavirus as a drop down. So they really should, talking to Jason, I think the recommendation was they should choose lack of work. But just having that kind of direction on the web somewhere might alleviate some of the phone calls and some of the confusion for some of those small business owners that now find themselves having to apply for something they never thought they'd ever have to apply for. But you guys have done just a wonderful job, and it's so stressful, and I just can't even imagine what you guys have been going through. So thanks for your leadership throughout this. I said this to Andy Aiello yesterday, that we're really grateful to have the leaders that we've got right now in the community. As bad as this is, it would be a lot worse if we didn't have you all here.
Amen.
Brent and hey, Brent and
for your support as
Tara.
well.
Tara.
Yes.
This is Connie, and Brent, to what you said, the independent contractors, there's a lot of individuals because of COVID-19 that would normally not be eligible for benefits, just having lots of questions. And I think the state or the websites are being updated. But, and Tara's been sending me a lot of, individuals, and I've been calling back. But one of the things to keep in mind that you could share with individuals that you talk to, that when they actually are applying and they put on lack of work, the reason there's a box there to make sure that they do put because of COVID-19, because that is going to be key, and those individuals are going to be taken care of even though they normally don't qualify.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've been advising them to do. And we've also been advising them to call as a follow-up because, but I don't know if that's the right advice from you at this time, but that's what I was originally told, was to fill it out online and then give it a couple of days and then maybe call back on the follow-up.
They certainly can. And, the 859-292-6666 is the direct number that we have set up for Covington in this area. And as Tara mentioned earlier, we put some new technology in for taking those calls that are going to individuals. So if they call, they're going to get someone, and we'll explain that further, and we can even look into their claim.
Great. Thanks. Sorry to end the meeting with that, Dana. Thanks so much. And I just want to, it looks like Dave has the beard of knowledge. Dave Schroeder, is that the beard of knowledge?
Yeah, he does.
Did you hear my story, Brent?
Brent, thank you for your partnership as well. Everyone, it's great to see you. Have a great rest of your day and a good weekend. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Thank you all.
Great to
Stay
see
safe.
everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Be safe.
Yes.